How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, how many of you are sports fans or somewhat like sports? Because this is going to be a very, very sports heavy story. So let me take you guys back to beginning of the year, and let's just say that I've always been a person who visualized, his life, and I'd be in class, I'd be talking to my parents, and I would always have thoughts going in my mind about how I wanted my life to look, how I wanted my reality to be played out, and I learned something called the law of attraction. How many of you have heard about that? Very, very much so this year because it was at the time a boneheaded move, but let's just say I left my job that paid pretty well to try to become a YouTuber and create my own brand. So when I told my parents that I come from an Italian household, they gave me the biggest look of disbelief on their face. They're like, "Are you kidding me?" And that's when I learned that being on your own, being an entrepreneur, and trying to make money on your own is very, very tough. So it was at this time, though, at the beginning of the year, that I was really put in my place in terms of figuring out what I truly wanted to do and be when I grew up. And I realized that I had grown up, so I had to figure that out. And one thing that I always wanted to do was be in sports. And while I was at my jobs in the media, because I did study journalism and media in university, I had this sports account that I did on the side just for fun called the Waterboard Report. It started off as a written blog, and then it became something that I would do videos, post it on YouTube, have podcasts, just do crazy reactions to any big signing that happened or trade. And then during this time, it started to gain a bit of traction and a bit of traction. So that's when I made the decision to try to pursue it full time, because I said to myself, if there was ever a time for me to try to pursue this full time, it would be now. I'm 25, just turned 25 on Friday. I have very supportive parents. Thank God for them, because let's just say if I had to do this on my own and live on my own out of the gate, I'd probably be on the streets, because I quickly found that this didn't pay a lot of money. But for me, it was the passion, guys. For me, it was the passion, and I just constantly kept seeing myself on TV, going up against the biggest sports personalities in the world, creating content, having my own show, having sponsors, having big companies get behind me, my idea, this Waterboard Report, this crazy idea that I had a couple years ago when I was in my basement just trying to think of some way I can put forth my thoughts in the form of sports. So it was during this year, again, on my own, tough start to the year. I meet John, and I'll never forget. There's all these big. I don't want to use the word big shot, but a lot of big businesses and big time people. And I was just introducing myself, like, "Oh, so what do you do?" Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. Nice to meet you. Very, very awkward, because clearly that's not an occupation that is prime these days. But anyways, first couple of months, I just stuck to my craft, started to create more and more videos because I had the time. And I saw my numbers start to increase, the followers, all that type of stuff. And then what was one big breakthrough in my life happened in June. And it goes back to me visualizing being on, big time networks, going against these big time personalities. And one day I was on Facebook, and I realized that there was a contest by ESPN. How many of you know ESPN? One of the biggest sports networks in the world. And the contest was how you had to submit your video, and if you were selected the winner, you would go up against Stephen A. Smith. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but Stephen A. Smith is the biggest sports personality in the world. So at the time, I'm looking at this like, you know what, it's worth a shot. Let me just give it a go. I'm trying to make videos for a living anyway. So I create this video. I'm the only Canadian in the pool of a very talented pool of Americans. And that whole week after I submitted the video, I felt pretty good. I liked my chances. But I remember the days leading up to when they were going to select the winner, I kept just thinking in my mind, I kept visualizing me facing Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and how the picture perfect debate would have gone, and how I would have won and, put him in his place and show the world that I do belong in the sports world. And little do I know, I remember I was out downtown with a friend, and I received a text that the producer of ESPN texted me saying that you had won the competition, and you better be ready. You better be ready because tomorrow at noon, you have a one-on-one debate on ESPN against Stephen A. Smith. So I'm freaking out. I go home. I tell my parents, like, I can't sleep that night. I'm going up against one of the biggest guys. He's got millions and millions of followers and all that. And I'm just a kid in my basement making videos, trying to string together a career out of it. So, and I tell you one thing, the debate hit, and as soon as I saw Stephen A.'s face, this is pretty intimidating being up here, but nothing's more intimidating than a grown man yelling at me about my sports opinion. So I'll never forget, I heard the Sports Center music and the producer just saying, okay, this is it. This is ready to go. And to be honest with you guys, I had to try to compose myself. I was tearing up almost because I'm like, my childhood dream, like this is it. Like I'm ready to go up against this guy. So I'm like, the last thing I want to do is start crying during this debate. So the debate hit, and again, I just pictured a picture-perfect debate and me getting all my points down. The debate was, where do you think LeBron James should play? Of course, he's in LA now. I made the argument that he should have stayed, but I'll leave that for a different day. But nonetheless, I went at it against Stephen A. Smith. He was laughing a couple of times, which he doesn't do too much. He agreed with some of my points, which he certainly never does. So yeah, there you have it. After 5 minutes of FaceTime with Stephen A. Smith, I was able to live out that dream. And then going back to what I was saying before about just visualizing your reality, then from there, another one of my dreams was I always wanted to be on TV. So after this debate had happened with Stephen A. Smith, I received a phone call from CP24. They actually wanted to profile me. So little do I know, they invited me down, and that was another, dream of mine come true because of me just thinking about it and just working towards it. And they actually invited me, had me on down, and I'll never forget the headline. They didn't say my name. The headline read, "Local Woodbridge man debates ESPN Stephen A. Smith." So at least they got my location right. And then from there, things just became even more crazy because going back to how I was trying to make this into a living and try to make money and not just make videos, my numbers started to grow. I started to develop a good enough fan base on Instagram, Twitter, and primarily YouTube. And then from there, I was able to parlay that into having now 5 sponsors on my team, supporting my dream, supporting the Waterboard Report, and allowing me to do what I love. And one of those sponsors who actually, and there's no hate when they did this, but a year ago, rejected the offer, actually came on board recently. And we're staying in the place right here, Dave & Buster's. They're on the team. They're on board. So... And with that as well, I was also able to just recently get a partnership with another radio station, 105.9 The Region. So now you guys can listen to my podcast on the air. So this isn't about me. The point I'm trying to make here is that I'm living proof, especially this past year, that even through the rough times, if you visualize things and you work hard, the old cliche, if you think about it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Like that is a possibility. And the funny thing about all this, and the funny thing about my story, is I finally clicked about the law of attraction when I recently stumbled across a book called The Secret. And I don't know if any of you have read this book, but I highly recommend reading it because everything I was doing is actually what it says that embodies the law of attraction. Visualizing you being in picture-perfect places, visualizing money coming to you. And this is something you all can implement walking out of those doors today. If you want to make more money, drive your dream car, just have that thought in your mind and work towards that. And as long as you can think it, you can have it in your hands because I am constantly preaching this every single place I go now. Because it was those times of reflection and visualization that have created my life right now and created my business and created my reality. So if there's anything you take away from this, other than the fact that I debated and I think I beat Stephen A. Smith, it's this. Whatever dream you have, it is not as far-fetched as you think. Honestly, think it, believe it, do it, and anything is possible in this world. Go get them. Thank you.